Hello, everyone. Bakura98 here with a little PSA about opposing book worship. Not too long ago, I was on Instagram and I was talking to an Armenian comrade, and I noticed how, they were basically partaking in liberalism and worshiping Stalin. Now, you can like Stalin, you can like any leader for that matter, but you have to be critical of them and know their mistakes. So I had to correct him, and we ended up going on a debate. It did end well. We both ended up respecting each other. But the thing is, from what I've seen, it's nothing more than Stalin worship. Now, what do I mean by Stalin worship and book worship? Well, book worship is that of, worshiping old text, what people say, as if it's 100% complete truth. By truth, I mean through a philosophical and a social science sense. Now, this can mean multiple things, and I think in this short little video I'll just be covering the two. For one, whoever's written a book, it must be correct. That's not always the case. Without examining what's within said book, it may not always meet our needs or beliefs or the objective truth. It should be questioned, critiqued, and analyzed. We can do this with pretty much anything from political philosophical books to books about ethics, psychology, science, and all sorts. Nothing is basically free from criticism. We must analyze it and make sure that it is true. Just because it's in a book does not always mean it is right. I mean, for God's sakes, does anyone remember the Black Book of Communism? Fucking exactly. Hell, Mao even says it is wrong to carry out an order from a higher organ just because they're a higher organ without questioning it, without examining it, and to see if it will work for them in their current conditions. The other form of book worship is basically like leader worship or even theorist worship, meaning we worship the person around that idea. Basically a cult of personality, like we see with Trump, Obama, past American presidents, even though we pretend we never had a cult of personality. We did. We just usually like to point out other countries in order to make ourselves look good. But just basically those types of cults of personalities. Basically, the thing is that we're not supposed to worship them as if they're gods. We should appreciate their theory, and we can like them if we want, but we have to critique them and call out their mistakes. We must understand why their ideas work is through the scientific principles and the material conditions, not because they are or were a prophet. And even then, we may not always agree with all of their ideas, and that is fine. We must understand why we find it to be wrong or debate about them. The same can be said about some of Stalin's ideas. Even Mao called out his ideas near the end of his death, one of them being he found Stalin to be too metaphysical near the end of his life. Same can be said about Mao near the end of his life. His exception of the Chilean military right-wing coup, some of his later beliefs, third worldism and stuff like that, can be critiqued and should be critiqued and called out. We can like people. Like, I like Mao, I like Nikola Ceausescu. Actually, you know what? No. I'm going to make a good example of this. I'm going to give two examples about two leaders I like but I'm very critical of. And one of them isn't even a communist. The first one was the second president of the People's Republic of Romania, Nikola Ceausescu. And basically, Romania had gone through a lot of stuff, especially with the different anthems, different flags. But that's all other shit. We won't go over that. Like, I like Nikola through his left-wing nationalism. I like how he stood up against the USSR invasion in the Prague Spring, which, for those of you who don't know, is because Czechoslovakia was going more social democratic, which I think for them would have been the good idea for the time, but Brezhnev did not like that, so he sent in Soviet troops to invade them. So yeah, that did not work out well. I like how he managed to pay off a huge amount of debt against the U.S., and from what my friend told me, he treated the, what were they called? The Romani people well. The Romani are the gypsies, and usually even other Eastern Bloc countries failed to do so, but Romania found a way to help them. Now, what are my critiques against him? Well, he banned abortion. That's not good. He supported Israel, which was a terrible idea. He did not stop the cult personality around him and later his wife, which I think ended up biting him in the ass. And I think even when he got older, he became way too idealistic in the sense that he thought that Romania had gotten rid of all the bourgeois, classes, but since the Americans helped with the right-wing revolution, the so-called revolution, the coup, it proved him wrong. Now, I still like Nicolae Ceausescu, and I think Romania did good under him and the previous leader. I even talked to a person who lives in Romania. They have positive things to say about him. I mean, people in his neighborhood, and there's a considerable number, percentage of people that still approve of him. If not him, at least the system they had before. But that's just my view on Nicolae Ceausescu. And I know some people dislike him and hate him. Personally, I like him, but I am critical of some of the shit he did. The next person is Muammar Gaddafi. Now, some of the good things he did as well, Libya thrived under him compared to where they are now. He treated black Africans as equals within his society. He actually let the women join the military. I mean, for God's sakes, the man literally had female bodyguards. Let's see what else he did. He actually advocated for Pan-Arabism and later Pan-Africanism. And he actually, even other than Nasser, he actually did try to, unite some of the Arab countries, but it didn't work out. So he ended up supporting Pan-Africanism. And he also supported other left-wing groups that also fought for freedom, such as the IRA. He even critiqued both Israel and Palestinians because he thought they could make a good thing together like a Czechoslovakia, but he was critical of what they were doing with each other. Now, what are the bad things Gaddafi did? Well, for one, he was homophobic, sadly. He is views saying that it's impossible for a man and woman to get HIV, which he was severely fucking wrong. Later in his life, I don't think in his life, I think he wanted to restart a gold system, within Africa so they become more independent economically speaking, which I don't think would have worked, and he tried to privatize everything which was once nationalized. He suppressed communists, which I don't like, even though he did work well with communists, even with Nicolae Ceausescu, worked well with the Soviet Union, and even supported them outside of his country. He didn't think it was for Libya or their people because he stated that they are a religious people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I like Gaddafi, but I'm critical of his actions. Also, the locker bombing, the plane bombing, that was not cool. And I think even he gave money to the families of the victims of that. That was not cool, and that should not have happened. So, we can be critical of the things he did, but still like him. Like, I love Gaddafi. He's like, I call him my Arab uncle, meaning that, because, there's so many ethnicities in Africa, mainly sub-Saharan Africa, Boers, the Berber, and the Arabs, and I consider him a uncle, my Arab uncle, because he did support Pan-Africanism. I think he's an important figure that all Africans should learn about, but I suggest that you could do better in terms of theory. You could still like him, but we should still critique some of the shit he did and some of his own beliefs. But it's fair. You can still, the message is, you can like someone, but still be fucking critical of them. But yeah, that was just a short little PSA about opposing book worship. And by the way, if you're wondering about the new PFP, it's only a monthly thing for October. I'm a big fan of Halloween, plus my 20th birthday is coming up. But anyway, this has been Bakura98. My video on behaviorism will be out by Monday. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I taught you something. If you have any questions or critiques, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll see you later.